Module 7, The Future of Language and Literacy in Education. So for this portfolio assignment, we were asked to analyze a video based on futuristic predictions of what classrooms would look like in the future. And I chose the video, Innovate the Classroom Experience, The Future of Learning by Thinker, presented by Joel Rose. Who or what produces the media text? What is the producer's relationship to education? So for this particular video, Joel Rose presented Innovate the Classroom Experience, the Future of Learning. He is the CEO and co-founder of a not-for-profit organization called New Classrooms. He is a teacher by trade, chief executive for human capital in the New York City Department of Education. He also founded and piloted the Teach to One math program and was published in various outlets which discussed personalized learning, such as The Atlantic, Education Nation, and EdTech magazine. How is the future classroom represented? What are the main characteristics of the classroom? So Rose's vision of the classroom was highly integrated both physically and instructionally. Physically, there are no physical boundaries, meaning that it is a very open concept. In the video, he even mentioned knocking down walls between classrooms to create this space. And in terms of instructionally, multiple learning stations were set up in the classroom where students had the choice to work as groups or individually or with the help of a teacher. It was very accommodative to student needs and preferences, as well as he mentioned there'd be assessment stations, and the results from the assessments would be used to restructure student schedules based on what they did well on and what they need to improve upon in the curriculum. So taking this vision of a futuristic classroom, which is very fluid and open and malleable in the video, we can compare it to talks we had about traditional classroom structure, throwing it back to the beginning of our unit in topic 2, discussing Taylorism. Now, Taylorism was mentioned in class and as well as discussed heavily in the Friesen and Jardine article, where they discussed how classroom structures used to be modeled after factory floors, and we can still see remnants of this today, such as individual desks and having one room per teacher and having the teacher be the main focus of the classroom. So we can still see these pervasive elements of Taylorism today, but there's a very stark contrast between futuristic classroom projections and past classroom structures. How is the future classroom different from current educational paradigms? How is it similar to current educational paradigms? So the main differences I noticed were the physical structures of the classroom. Modern classrooms are still segmented into rooms, as well as individual desks are still used, so there's still a little bit of that individualized feel to classrooms, as well as it is teacher-guided instruction for the whole class. The futuristic classrooms were more driven by student needs. If they needed to work individually, they could. If they needed to work in a group, they could. Some similarities is I noticed that UDL and DI were at the forefront of accommodation efforts. It is something we try to do today to ensure that every student's learning needs are met, as well as culturally responsive teaching. Immediately, it made me think of the Wlodkowski and Ginsberg article where they talk about the 4 pillars of inclusive education, which are inclusion, positive attitude, enhancing meaning, and engendering competency, because students are provided with various ways of taking in different information through various stations. As well, there's an innovative and highly integrated use of technology in the classroom, which we are starting to do today with smartboards and cell phones and iPads and whatnot. So I'd also like to connect this to the Anthony article, Output Strategies for English Language Learners. So in the video, Rose mentioned that students could use software to correspond with teachers. So for an ELL learner who perhaps is having a hard time understanding lessons in English, they could talk to an ELL correspondent teacher to improve their language production, because they can communicate their ideas, struggles, and background knowledge through this correspondent, who could act as an intermediary or scaffold for facilitating the transition from the student's first language to translating it to the curriculum in English. So I feel that that would be a very useful way to integrate technology for ELL learners in this new futuristic classroom. What is your critical take on the video? So I like the fact that there is a vast variety of ways for students to meet their academic needs, such as choosing group work or individualized work, different usages of technology, and there are many stations providing different methods to comprehend what is being taught. I disliked that the classroom's structure was very open. I felt it was very focused on the needs of the students, which is awesome. But as a teacher, it would be hard to manage in terms of classroom management. There's kids all over the place doing many things at once. It could be hard to observe and build relationships with kids when your attention is so divided. And as well, it is a bit more of an impersonal feel to the classroom because the classroom is so divided into different groups or spaces. One of the most important lessons we are taught during our time in the Faculty of Education is the importance of connecting with our students. Teachers need to get to know who their students are and what their stories are in order to create a relatable and inviting classroom experience, which is a point that Sonia Nito, in her video, A Culturally Responsive Approach to Teaching, stresses as well. I find that in terms of classroom management, this would be hard to do with kids constantly rotating through stations. If the goal is to have students placed in different spots every day based on the previous day's results, how are teachers supposed to connect with their students on a personal level? And as much as diverse technologies in UDI or UDL and DI can help a student academically, teachers are there to help students with both academics and their life outside of academia. Students face issues regarding race, gender, ethnicity, puberty, and culture, which can affect their motivation and relationships in school, as Giroux points out in topic 6. For example, if a student who doesn't do well on a test and they take an assessment at that math assessment station, as Rose suggests, student results are tabulated through software, and according to the score, he or she is placed at a different station the next day. But what if the student just had a bad day? What if he or she underperformed due to external circumstances? As a teacher, I wasn't there to witness the student's disposition in class because I was too busy teaching at another station. To me, that presents a large problem in terms of how teachers surveil their classes and observe student behaviors and connect with students on a personal level.